Welcome to the Think Loud Crew podcast. 3 moms getting real with parenthood, relationships, and the WTF moments of our daily lives. If I could only talk. My name is R.
I'm Cheyenne, and we have a special guest. One of my friends, Shawnteairra, is on. Ooh. I'm so excited to have you on. She is a newlywed. You guys are still considered newlyweds, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm like, newlywed. She recently just had a baby. Like, how old is Carter? Like 2 months? A month?
6 weeks.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
He's a chunky boy.
Wow.
And I wrote down topics. I want to say them, and then you decide what resonates with what you want to talk about the most.
Ooh, I got questions too.
My first topic is that you guys eloped.
Yeah.
Yes. Which I think was so cool.
I do too.
Thanks so much.
Or if you want to talk about newlywed life and bring your baby into that.
Okay.
And I want to talk about what you're doing about maternity leave, because I don't know about that.
Interesting.
Or I want to talk about your birthing story.
I want birthing story.
Birthing story? Okay.
And
I'm like, I have so many topics. Which one do you want to do?
6 weeks in, like, how are we feeling?
Yeah.
You look good.
Yeah, you look.
Thank you.
You're glowing right now.
Oh my God.
Like, your skin looks really good.
Your teeth are hella white.
Oh my God. All these compliments.
She's like, I should come back.
Right. I'm
Like, I've already talked to you about your hair.
I'm just saying 6 weeks out, like,
Yeah.
I did not look like you.
I appreciate it.
I felt like I got hit by a bus.
I'm sure you look great, Shy.
I was fat.
No, I was fat as
Like,
fuck.
my cheeks were like dying. Like, yeah, I don't see this.
No. Okay, let's do your birthing story.
Birthing story first? Okay. Had my son on January the 30th. So he was actually due February 2nd. So had him a few days early. And I kid you not, I started having contractions on the 28th around like 11 p.m. And Carl, my husband Carl, was like asleep, right? And so when he was like asking, was I okay? Is everything fine? I was like, no, go back to sleep. I want to wake you up for when I really, really need you.
Yeah.
Because I heard that usually the first time you give birth, it's usually like a lot. So he ends up going back to sleep. I keep getting up and going to the bathroom like over and over again. And then I ended up texting my mom, like, I think we're going into labor. Because at this point, it's like 2 a.m. and the pain's just like intensifying. Mm-hmm. So at like maybe 5 or 6 a.m., I end up falling asleep in our rocking chair in the nursery. So Carl comes in and like checks on me. And by this time, the pain's gone.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, maybe this was like preterm labor. Maybe this is just, maybe I'm fine. So fast forward to Monday, the 29th. I'm working from, I'm home because I'm on maternity leave. I took the month off before. And Carl's at work, and I had a friend that came over. And she is a nurse. And so she's over, we're like just catching up, talking. All of a sudden, my stomach starts hurting again. And she's just like touching my stomach. She's like, girl, you're in labor. You're in active labor right now. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, I can manage the pain. I'm on my birth ball. I'm bouncing.
Did you have a birth plan, like going into how you wanted to give? What was before you tell us what actually happened, what was your ideal birth plan?
So my ideal birth plan was to have a unmedicated birth.
Okay.
So the plan was to stay at home as long as possible because I didn't want to go to the hospital and they interfered with what I was trying to like do. Mm-hmm. I just didn't want to be offered anything. And this was just a personal choice. Mm-hmm. I did hire a doula. So after talking to my OB, she was saying labor at home as long as possible. That way when you come in, just pretty much just give birth.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was why I was trying to just labor and deal with the pain as long as possible.
Was a doula expensive? Because I have had friends who've used doulas, and I talked about it before on some platform. I don't know. And people kind of came to me like having a doula is a privilege. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have one. My dad was my doula. He was like, breathe like this. So I'm just curious. What do you think that having a doula was a privilege? Do you think that it's something you would do again? Was it an expensive thing? Like, how does that
have it like pre-birth and post-birth, or?
No, that's a really good question. So for me, okay, so doulas are expensive.
Okay.
What I did was I went through a company, and what they do is they pretty much find a doula for you.
Okay.
And so they send you a bunch of options based off of your interests. You have to fill out a whole questionnaire about
What company did you use?
I will have to look at. I can't remember.
It's like an agency.
Yeah, I got like really bad mom brain, y'all. I be forgetting everything these days.
It never goes away.
Yeah, like
I
welcome to the fog.
I heard. I'm like, I needed to come back, but I'll look it up and let you guys know.
I'm curious.
But I reached out to the agency, and my coworker is the one that told me about it because he was going on paternity leave, and so I reached out to the company and let them know I was looking for a doula. They had me fill out a questionnaire, and it's pretty much asking a bunch of questions about the type of birth you want to have, what ethnicity you prefer, like a bunch of questions, right? And so they sent me like 5 people, and I Candace was number 1. So I reached out to her, and we just had a phone conversation. I kid you not. She was like, it was like talking to like a best friend. We were just like chopping up. And I was telling her I want to have, the type of birth I want to have. I was like, I don't want to, I like just personal preference. Nothing wrong with it. I don't want epidural. I don't want pitosis. I don't want any of that. I would like, if possible, to have an unmedicated birth.
Yeah.
And I just, I wanted to be able to labor at home as long as possible. I wanted to give birth in the position of my choice. And she was like all for that. She's like, girl, like I would love to work with you.
Yeah.
So once she met my husband, then it was like go time. But to answer your question, when you go through this agency,
You have to pay the agency?
so you actually, I'm sure that they get a fraction of it, but the great thing about this is that it was like the payment was cut in half. So you would pay probably like maybe about five G's or something like that for a doula. I mean, it's expensive. It just depends, but that was like, it was about half of that when I went through this agency. A little over, but not nearly as much as what a doula would usually be. So it was affordable for me. I would definitely have her again. I think it's definitely worth having because there's just so much that you don't know. And during my pregnancy, I realized, I mean, I'm the kind of person that I do a lot of research anyway. Like I will literally look on YouTube. I will ask questions. I will find out information about, okay, what should you be eating? What should you be drinking? All those things. So that is what I was spending my time doing. And we worked together, like me and the doula. We worked together as a team because I'm able to say, okay, I saw this video, should I be drinking like leaf tea? And she's like, oh yeah, like that's actually good for you while you're pregnant. So great experience. I would definitely, like I said, have her again.
That makes me happy. Yeah. There are some insurances that do cover doula fees. So just putting that out there, like under Marital, like there are different things that are going on. So doulas can register or get registered under like to be able to accept insurance.
I did not know that.
It's
I
all
didn't know
happening.
that either. I also didn't know that you could take off a month before your maternity leave.
Girl, I didn't know either until my OB told me. I was like, oh, I can? Okay.
Wait, so explain.
Yeah, so I saw my OB in December, and she was like, are you going to take a month off before? And I'm like, I don't know. And she was like, well, you can. She's like, do you want to take a month off before? And I'm like, girl,
how do you do that?
Yeah, what is that?
So she entail? More so, like, they pretty much do all the work. I told obviously my doctor mentioned it. She sends everything to disability. And you know how you get that 6 week of disability after you give birth? It's the same thing, except they just pay you a month before. So the doctor just sends everything over, and then your job, they'll just pay that other portion that equals out to the 100%.
I feel like you need to have a cool OB that's going to guide you do that.
Because I would have never known.
So you had the month off before you gave birth, and then how long is your maternity leave now?
So I have 6 weeks of disability and then 8 weeks of paid family leave. And then I also have like 200 hours of vacation.
So what does that equal?
What kind of job do you have, Shawnteairra? Like,
I'm like, this is great.
This sounds amazing because I had none of that, but I also don't work
I was going to say, but you didn't have like a corporate job.
I didn't have a corporate job.
So what do you mean you had none of that?
When I had Boz, I missed the disability window by 2 weeks.
Oh shoot!
Yes.
Okay.
Like
so. Wait, all that time. What is that? What is that equivalent to
8
in like
weeks,
months?
6 weeks.
So according to HR, they said that with the disability 6 weeks and paid family leave of 8 weeks, I'd be due back. I think it was March 6th. I'm sorry. Excuse me, May 6th.
5 months.
May 6th. But because I have the vacation. Because I just found out, just because I have all that vacation, she was like, of course you can use it. And then that would push me out to about, I think maybe a total of like 8 or 9 months or so.
Dang.
So,
girl, I hope you use
you're racking it in. Did Carl get, what is it?
Paternity
leave? Yeah, so my husband gets 3 months. So he took the first month off, and now he's staggering. He's doing 2 months on, 2 months. I'm sorry, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Because it kind of makes it go longer.
Yeah, so his goes until
you guys
June.
both like would this be like a corporate job?
Yeah, so he's at Sony, I'm at Fox.
Okay,
aren't they like right next to each other?
That is amazing.
About a couple miles.
I like
think
that.
This is great.
I think it's cool that he can
super
even
excited.
stagger it. I didn't even know that you're allowed to stagger.
Yeah, I had no idea either. He's the one that told me that that's what he wanted to do. So I've never heard of anyone staggering their paternity leave, let alone getting 3 months.
For the man, I've never heard that.
Yeah.
I always thought they probably got like
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
You know what?
No offense to the men out there.
Happy about these companies too, because this is such a hot conversation.
Yeah.
It is.
In the parenting and just family world of like maternity and paternity leave, and it's how does it work? So knowing that I love your OB for this.
Yeah.
Shout out to
too.
her.
Yeah, she's
I need
great.
her number because I need an OB out here. But having the right doctor support, I'm so proud of you for pursuing and getting a doula and like having that counterpart like outside of your husband. Like it's so important. And I'm like,
I like that your doula respected your birth plan.
yes.
Yeah.
And that your OB did.
Yeah.
Okay,
So what happened at the hospital?
so you wanted unmedicated. You wanted to give birth in the position of your choosing. You wanted to stay home in labor as long as you could. So now at this point, your friend is over. She's a nurse. She fills your stomach. You're in active labor.
I'm in active labor.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm bouncing on the ball. We're talking. I'm just like on all fours, just like just stretching, going back and forth.
How far is the hospital from where you guys live?
About 4.5 miles.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
not
so it's not bad.
But like time wise, because 4.5 miles could be 20 minutes or 2 hours sometimes.
It was about maybe 20 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
not bad.
it wasn't bad.
You're in a great position.
It wasn't bad at all.
I love
so
this.
after, like I said, the pain just kept increasing, but I have a really high pain tolerance. So I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay, like obviously like the baby's coming soon, but I still thought I had, I don't know, like a couple days. I didn't know, first baby.
So you didn't call your doula to tell her, or did you tell her like, nah, I'm feeling something?
Well, I had already reached out to her like a week before, and I was like, how do I know when I'm in labor? She's like, Tiara, you will know.
Yeah,
She's like,
you're
you
gonna
will.
know.
She's like, you will know. She's like, don't think about it. You'll know. So I'm like, okay, I'll just wait till the pain is just
Till
no
you
longer
know.
tolerable. Yeah.
Timing them at all?
So that's the thing. Around 7:45 on the 29th, the pain just got worse and worse. So at this point, my husband's home from work. He's making me soup, but I can't finish it. We're timing the contractions, but they're literally so far apart. So by about like maybe 11 o'clock, the app's like, go to the hospital. And I didn't listen because I'm like, nah, but they're not consistent. I don't want this birth interrupted. So I stayed home an additional 2 hours. It was 1 in the morning. And at this point, the app literally said go to the hospital 2 more times. A total of 3 times. And I'm like, I don't know if this
She's
is actually...
like, click it off,
Right,
click
I'm
it
like,
off.
I don't
like,
really...
I'm going to stop reporting these
Right.
contractions.
Because again, like we were, my husband was texting the doula, and she was saying that she's not really sure because it wasn't like consistent. So she ended up coming over at 1:30 in the morning, and you know she's checking me, she's doing the breathing with me, and all of a sudden, y'all, at about 2:30, I drop to the floor and I start pushing. And
Wait, what? Hold on. At the 1:30 time, what is your pain level at? From 1 to 10, where are we?
honestly, like a 9.
This just got wild.
And what is Carl doing?
I feel like Carl's so calm, but I feel
He's
like he
very
might have been
calm.
freaking out.
I would have been freaking out.
He's very calm. He was honestly breathing with me until she got there. Like, he was making sure I was good, by making sure I didn't need anything, offer me like water.
Are you doing the counter pressure?
Yeah, he was doing the counter pressure, and again, like he's in communication with my doula. So they were on the phone together. She's telling him what to do, but we had already had the visits of her coming over and demonstrating the counter pressure and the breathing.
Yeah.
So I mean, he knew what to do.
Yeah.
He was very, very
So
involved.
he was calm.
Yeah, I mean, Carl's definitely the calm one. Yeah, so he was able to
So you sound like you were very calm.
Yeah, were you calm?
To stretch in, to fall.
Right. Were you calm or were you
So I was calm because, as we know, like giving birth is 80% mental and only 20% physical. So you have to breathe. Like there is no way to get through these contractions unless you're breathing, and not like the stuff you see on TV.
Yeah.
It is. It is breathing.
It's like
through
real
the
breathing.
pain.
Yeah.
Yes, it is
Your
breathing through it.
exhale
So
needs to be longer
Yes.
than your inhale.
Exactly.
That's what I tell people. And if it's not, you're hyperventilating.
yeah, and I did have a few of those.
You can literally breathe yourself into chaos. So I'm
Yeah.
like, slow it down, short, long.
Yeah.
And you got to let it out.
I'm really picturing you breathing. I'm picturing Carl doing the counter pressure. I'm picturing like dim lights and candles. And then I picture you just dropping to the floor.
like, it's happening. I'm pushing.
Was your doula there?
Yeah. So my doula was there. So she had got there, and that's when she's like, rubbing my back. Me and her are breathing together because the pain. It's painful.
Yeah, it hurts.
So I did have a few moments where I kind of got off track, and I'm like, okay, it hurts, and then she's just like, breathe with me. So like having her there to remind me to breathe was the best thing, because that is how I was able to get through the contractions.
You stay present.
And you have to. It's literally the only way to like be able to get through it, because they're literally back to back. So like I said, she got there at 1:30-ish, and then between 1:30 and 2:30, all this was happening, because at 2:30 we left to go to the hospital. But before then, that's when I had dropped to the floor because I felt the urge to push.
Yeah.
And then she was on the floor, she's rubbing my back, and then I'm like, oh my God, I have to pee. I try to get to the bathroom, but I don't make it, y'all, because my water broke.
Oh.
And so
Your water broke.
my water broke. And
That's really rare.
Yeah.
I heard I heard that usually it starts with contractions. So y'all would think I would go to the hospital in that moment.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So I was like, you know what? I'm sorry, but I need a shower. So
I knew it was going to be food or some kind of cleaning.
No.
And you wanted to shower because what?
Because you know what? I wanted to be clean. But my water
broke.
Yeah,
It's time to go.
I know. So
that push was real.
So she was like, Tear, we have to go. But meanwhile, you guys, I'm still having contractions. The pain is bad. I'm breathing through it, so I can't stand up. So I literally like crawl in the bathtub, and I'm on like my knees, and I'm like, can you just run the shower on my back?
Can you turn the shower on? I want to be clean.
I was like, can you just run it so I could get the good parts? I was determined to shower before. It was like a 2 minute.
You just wanted to rinse real quick.
I just wanted to rinse real quick.
Everybody about to be all up in this for JJ. Let me rinse it out.
But your water broke.
Well, see, that's the thing. I didn't know all that. When my water broke, she was like, Tiara, like, you're gonna have to put on like the Freedom Mom, postpartum underwear and the big pads. I didn't know that, so I'm thinking like, oh, I showered, I'm good. No. That's when it gets real.
That's when everything starts coming out.
I didn't know that. So after my little 2-minute little bird bath, my little shower, I ended up going to the hospital. Carl drove us, of course, and then she followed. And when I tell y'all, when we got to the hospital, they're looking at me crazy because I'm literally
You're having a baby.
I'm literally breathing loud. I don't think that they've seen people like come in active labor, because I'm like, I'm checking in. Like, it was real for me. And so I go into triage, and Carl with me at this point, and the resident nurse, she was the one, she was like the one that was there, and she asked like, is it okay if we do like a cervix check? I didn't want none of that. I didn't want no check or anything. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I have the urge to push. I'm pushing the baby out. Yeah. And she's like, so you're 9 centimeters. And I'm like, oh, okay.
You're really having a baby in like soon.
Soon. So I had on like a white tank top. I had on sweats. So they're like transferring me to the room.
Take your clothes off.
They're transferring me to the room. I ended up giving birth with that tank top on. Like,
there was no time.
There was no time. Like, we left at 2:30. We got there around 3-ish. And my son was born at 4 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
So he came.
What position were we in? I'm so curious about your position of choice.
So my position of choice was on my right side. And they had these little bars. So I was able to put my leg on the bar to be able to push him out.
Got it.
And did you do that?
I did that, yeah.
Oh, I'm happy for you.
I just didn't want to be on my back because of gravity. So I wanted to be on all fours, but realistically, that is hard because it's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
But on my right side was great.
I love it.
So after the nurse checked you and you realized that you were at a 9, she was like, let's take your pants off.
She was like, let's go. She was like, this baby is coming.
Aww.
So
has your doctor been called yet?
So like, I believe my doctor was called when my husband called the hospital and said we're on the way.
Okay.
Because like I said, so much was happening.
Go Carl for calling on the way.
I know. Not Carl calling the doula, the doctor.
Right. He called the hospital. Yeah.
Carl's in the other room with baby boy.
With baby,
and I keep peeking through like, go Carl.
When I tell y'all, he's like a lifesaver. He was the one that was keeping me calm. Even I was looking into his soul, like, breathe with me. I was like,
not looking into his soul.
I was.
So do you think that this experience has intensified your relationship with each other? Did it bring you guys closer?
It really did. I mean, a lot of times you hear that, you know, like people always warn Carl that when it came to giving birth, that the doctors would like dismiss him. They wouldn't pay attention to him. He would have no say. Nobody cared. They only care about the mom. Mm-hmm. That was not the experience. Like the OB was amazing. The doula was amazing. Like one thing about my husband is that he's really like such a sweet and kind person. And like we had spent a lot of time in prayer. The birth, like the people, everything was perfect. Like I have no complaints.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he was able to like feel seen in that way when it came to the doctors and the doula.
I think it's really important to share positive birthing stories. After I gave birth to Boz, I feel like I spit him out. Like to me, I had a great birthing experience. Like just the whole process. I was so grateful. Despite not having like a partner at the time, like everything else, I couldn't have prayed for it to be any better.
Yeah.
And after I had my baby and I started going online and seeing other birthing stories, I was like, oh shit, excuse my language. I was like, there's a lot that happens in birth for a lot of women and families. And I was almost like, not ashamed, but I felt kind of embarrassed to share my birthing story just because it was like, oh, I had a great birth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And everything went how I wanted it to go. There were little surprises here and there, but I was happy.
Yeah.
And so I'm really happy to hear that you had a good birthing experience, or just the experience that you wanted in terms of unmedicated, your husband being seen and having a voice, hearing how positive and like reassuring he was, like having a doula experience. Like whether I know you or not, like I'm proud of y'all as a family. Like I think that's really important, especially when we do see so much like the hardships or the negative is what's brought to life.
Yeah.
It would make me so scared to want to have a child if I just read what was online. So this is Shawnteairra, y'all. And let her be an example or just inspiration of like what can be in terms of birth. Like it's such a special and like you were looking into your husband's soul. Like,
I'm just not gonna forget that part.
Y'all should have saw me. I was looking at him.
We need to turn that into a T-shirt or something.
Said I was looking into his soul. I'm done.
I was literally like, breathe with me. Like I literally
I can see her, like.
He was looking back into your soul.
We're here. Like, y'all were connected.
We really were. But you bring up a good point, R, because, like, you're right. Like, I felt bad for, want to talk about my stories. I'm like, man, I did have such a great experience, and I was like, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm trying to act as if my birth's all like I'm all high and mighty because I had the birth that I did, but people don't know is that I had a lot of people telling me that giving birth is really painful and how hard it is, and there was also things I went through in my birth that was actually really, really hard. So the fact that this did work out, it was really exciting. So I'm like, man, things are actually working out. Like everything I'm doing in the research and the things I'm eating and the diets and exercising, all of that is working in my favor.
You're allowed to feel accomplished for that.
Yeah,
and nobody can take that from you. And I hear it when you first started your story of you said it a few times of like, this is my choice, this was my decision, like this is it, and this is a decision that was best for me, like this is what I want to do for me, like you almost give a disclaimer without giving a disclaimer of like, this was a choice that we made. There was no judgment attached to anyone else who has made a different decision of what they want to do for their birth. Yeah. And I think that a lot of times as moms, we do get put in these boxes of like, if we say like, of almost feeling like shame within things. So like if you get an epidural versus if you have unmedicated, it's like everyone is like, which one did you do? But it's like, who gives a fuck? Like if the baby came, the baby came. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's all that matters.
We got a healthy baby.
I do think that it is cool to hear different birth stories, different birth plans, because maybe the next person didn't even know that it was an option to say, I want to be in the birthing position of my choice. Like someone might not even know that that's an option to do. And I think online we get a lot of, you know, the fights of like if you're nursing versus if you're bottle feeding versus if you're using formula. Like, and I look at that stuff and I'm like, at the end of the day, as long as the baby is eating and is healthy, why
it doesn't
why are you mad at the next mom for what they're doing or not doing?
Somebody say the other day, mind your business. And it's one of those moments where it's like, you do what works for you.
Absolutely.
And you do what works for the baby. Not all babies take well to the natural nipple. Sometimes, you know, there's all these different things. Sometimes they don't take. My boss wouldn't drink off of a bottle. Like, I was stuck with that little homie for 2 years. Like, that drove me crazy, but it was my choice. Yeah. I loved it. I mean, and I wouldn't change it. Like,
yeah, I mean, to be transparent, like, I mean, breastfeeding was hard for me. I mean, I'm just starting the process now and I'm using a nipple shield. So, I mean, like, it's different for everybody. You know, I've been bottle feeding since he's been born, but this week, you know, he's been taking the nipple shield and I mean, he's eating. So that's all that really matters.
Yeah. That's another thing to bring up. If the baby doesn't take in the hospital, there's still time. Like, it's not
because you're 6 weeks out and you're saying this week, so
there's still time. The lactation, like our bodies are amazing, y'all.
Yeah,
like, and you're working with a lactation nurse,
lactation consultant. Yeah, she came over last Wednesday and just gave me a lot of advice on like what to do. Left some nipple shields, and I was discouraged for weeks. And I was like, "Is it too late for me?" And she was like, "No," because he wouldn't take to it. And I was discouraged. I'm like, "Dang, like everybody breastfeeding but me." I mean, you know, it's like you fall into that, but at the end of the day, it looks different for everybody.
Yeah, it does. I know one mom. She was very vocal about that she did not want to breastfeed and that she said that her mom had 6 kids and didn't breastfeed any of them and they're fine and that she's choosing to not breastfeed any of her kids. And I remember listening to her talk about it and there was so much judgment under her being vocal about it, but she's like, why do you guys care? Like, if it's my choice, my kids I'm not saying I'm not feeding them at all. I'm just saying I don't want to nurse them. Like, it's just what I know not to do, basically.
Damn, sis probably still got her boobs.
Oh, she does. She for sure does. And she's on, like, baby number 3, and her tits are still perky as fuck. Yeah. And I'm like, dang. Dang. But I think that it's... No. I think that it's interesting when you hear other people's stories, positions, but... Yeah. I know for myself, I really wanted to breastfeed, and I know that with Ryder it came a lot easier. With Ace, it was a struggle, and then it became like a mental struggle, and then it's like, what's wrong with me, and why can I not do it? Why is her tit out and my tit's not out? Like, why is her milk coming out so fast and mine is dripping like a little faucet that just got left on still? Like, you know, it's like you play that. It's hard not to get in your head about it. Especially, you're only 6 weeks. Like, you're still, like, you're still healing.
Yeah. How's the healing process been for you?
It's been really good. I mean, I started pretty much walking, like, a couple days after. Like, and I've been going on walks just to stay active and help with my mental. But the healing process has been really good. I had my 6th week on Tuesday, my OB, and she was like, yeah, everything's fine. I mean, you're healed. You know? Back to business as usual. Just
no tears.
Oh yeah, so I did have a 2nd-degree tear.
Yeah. That's a nice size tear.
Yeah,
I had that with Ryder.
But I heard it's very common.
It is common.
So I was like, I don't want to tear. I was doing all the things to try to prevent it, but
did you do the oil and the
thanks to my husband.
Yeah, Dr. Walden was all up in there.
Oh, like, Dr. Walden,
I miss her.
I miss her too.
Where did she move? Like to Hawaii?
Our OB moved to Hawaii, y'all.
She did.
If I have another child and my husband and I are like, got it like that,
I wonder if she opened her practice
I
out
would
there.
deliver in Hawaii.
I don't think so.
I don't think
really
she
liked
opened
her.
her practice.
Yeah,
I think she just moved.
Yeah.
I really liked her.
I miss her. Though.
I liked her too, and I don't, it's weird to say I really like this person who was all up in my vagina. But I
In my
really
vagina.
liked her.
She was great. Shai, you referred me to her. She
Yeah.
was amazing.
I really liked her, and I was so nervous because I went through, so with Ryder's pregnancy, my mom referred me to her OB, who was an older guy.
Dr. Wyatt had
Very
delivered,
old. He's
like thousands
he
of
delivered
babies.
me.
Okay.
Okay, so he's old, right? And he would scoot around the office, like his little feet. I can literally hear
his
him
white coat.
scooting.
White coat. Okay.
And he had a ultrasound machine that was probably like the first one ever invented. Like anytime he would turn it on, it would smoke.
Yes.
It went out.
It went out. Like it would do. Like I'm like, book. Should you put that on me? Like it was that type of situation. But I remember I was weeks away from giving birth, and I went to my appointment, and he was like, "Yeah, so I'm not giving birth anymore. I'm not doing labors anymore. Like I'm too old. Basically,
Today's my last day.
Today's my last day. Here's a list of people that I have trained, and I think Ayana Walden was the first one on the list, and I was in such like a phase of like you have been looking at my cooter cat this whole time, and now you don't want to look at it anymore. Like we're weeks away. Like you couldn't retire a few weeks from now, and I'm like, whatever. Maybe this is God. I called Dr. Walden. She was the first one, and we just clicked. Like clicked immediately. But she was really, really easy to click with.
cool.
Very easy. Yeah. Very sweet.
She delivered all the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
kiddos.
she delivered both of mine and
She did both of mine.
both of yours.
How was that after birth? Like once baby Carter came out,
Like birthing your
Actual-
placenta.
Oh.
after birth, when they're like still massaging everything
pushing?
out.
Whew, that was. I didn't like that.
I
didn't like
oh
that.
my gosh.
I like never really thought about afterbirth until I saw Cheyenne give birth. And after the baby was here, everyone's on the baby, and I just remember my dad and I were like, "Wow!" Like,
Yeah, it's like
this
you're
is-
still in labor.
Yeah, 'cause
crazy.
That part was a lot. They kept pushing it and then they kept coming back. And you're like, I'm just like, bro, like, are you guys done?
He said they kept coming back.
I'm like, I'm still like, I'm trying to just heal and yeah.
You're like, leave me alone.
Like,
Yeah.
the baby is out,
Right.
What did you choose to do anything with your placenta?
I didn't. No.
Okay, I didn't. I would just.
No, I didn't.
I
didn't
looked at that
either.
thing and said, "Throw it away. Take it out of here."
Yeah, like honestly, I didn't even want to look at it. I ended up seeing it because my husband took a picture of it. And on my
Carl.
phone. Right.
It looks so cool.
It honestly kind of does. I was just like, I don't need to see this.
Cheyenne's
but-
face.
No.
It's
So
interesting.
with Ryder's birth, I was very adamant that I did not want pictures of her to go on the internet. I didn't want, like, my aunt was there. I didn't want her to show pictures. I didn't want anyone to see pictures of her, except, like, my friends. But, it was just,
I had a very
there were so many
select
people
list.
that were so curious to see what she looked like, to see if they could match the dad with the face. So I just didn't want people to see her. So I remember my aunt was like, I'm going to take a picture. And I'm like, do not take a picture of my kid because you uploaded to Facebook. Like, I know you. And she didn't. But then I later found out, like maybe a few weeks later, she took a picture of my placenta and she was showing that instead. And I was like, what the
Why?
fuck is wrong with you?
I don't think I knew that story.
Yes, she had a picture of my placenta that she was sending out and showing people.
Oh, why?
And I saw the text thread, and I'm like, bro, why would you send my placenta out over the internet?
Was she trying to sell it? What was she doing?
She was just showing people. I'm like, what? And she said, well, you told me I couldn't show the baby. I was like,
So
what?
here's this placenta that
Yes.
came out my niece's vagina.
Yeah, so that is why I saw my placenta, but I don't ever need to see one ever again.
It's. But I'm not gonna. It is kind of interesting.
It's very
looking.
interesting.
Yeah.
It looks very beautiful to me.
No.
Oh
don't
no!
know.
See, you're the type to fry yours and then
No,
eat it.
I didn't do anything with mine. But it's been interesting because, like, as I've been doing, like, my doula stuff and, like, furthering my studies, I've had people reach out and they're like, hey, do you, like, encapsulate, like, placenta? And I was like, I've been so ignorant and just, like, not educated on it. And I was like, at first I was like, I ain't doing that shit. Like, you want to eat that? Like, you want to bury it under the tree? Like, there's all these different stories I'm getting. So then I went down this whole rabbit hole where it's like, am I going to learn how to
No, you're not.
encapsulate the placenta? I'm not.
Yeah.
It's too much of a liability
It's not
also.
for me.
Because I know
It's
a
not
few
for
moms
me.
that have done it and have gotten really, really sick because
I'm like,
bacteria. It's just, it's just if
the
it's done
transferring, like,
right, if it's
you
just
have
not
to, like,
done correctly.
be at the hospital.
Yeah,
There's like a whole process, and I was just like,
I feel like it's so much of a
not for me.
liability.
Yeah.
not
Because
for me. I will have other specialties.
yeah, no. So
not for me.
how do you feel now? 6 weeks, new mom, still newly fresh in like your marriage. Like, do you feel like the balance has kicked in yet, or are you still trying to navigate what this new life looks like for you?
Still trying to balance, but still, I know that it's ever changing, but I mean, I am only 6 weeks, but it's interesting because everyone kept telling me, this is a lot of the advice I received was that, you won't get a lot of sleep. The baby, you won't get a lot of sleep. The baby will cry and be up and it's hard. And I can function on a few hours of sleep. That hasn't been the hardest part. The hardest part is honestly like navigating being still a newlywed in a sense, and also still being a new mom, and also practicing self-care and maintaining my relationship with God. Like doing all of that, it feels like a lot. So I want to make sure I don't like lose myself within that. So to me, that's like I'm still adjusting.
Do you journal?
I do.
I really want there to be like some kind of mommy journal where it's like, it's not, hey, am I hitting all my marks today? But it's like, if I am, like, I just want a reminder of like, oh, you know what? So when you go back, it's like, oh, I did take care of myself today. Oh, you know what? I did acknowledge my husband or his feelings, or I asked him what's going on. Or, oh, I called my mom back because the lady wants to know what's going on. You know, like just something that is a marker or reminder, like you're doing it. You're
showing up.
Yeah.
There's so many ways where we're like, I'm not doing all 900 of these things, but you could do 899 of them, and you still, that one thing will make you.
Do you feel like you're showing up, or do you feel like you're finding your groove to show up?
A little bit of both. I mean, I'm doing my best to show up and push through, especially within the days where it does get really hard, and I'm definitely sleep deprived. But I'm also still like just trying to I'm seeing a therapist too. And I think it's important to do that just to make sure that my mental is good.
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
So when you mentioned the journaling, like she always tells me, like, write down 3 things that you want to accomplish today. And I've been trying to do that because I feel like it at least gives me some sort of like positive reinforcement that, hey, I'm doing it. Even if I'm not like, if I didn't go on a walk today, Carter is fed. Like he is breathing.
And it doesn't have to be big tasks. Don't, it's one of those things where it's like, if you have the option to not overload yourself with tasks, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like literally just enjoy this moment. Like enjoy bonding with your baby, with your husband, and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Did you and Carl talk about what like married life would look like after having a baby, or like how it would affect you guys, or things that you would want to do to make sure that it doesn't affect you like in a negative way? Did you guys have those conversations?
That's a really good question. We did. We did in the sense of, because so Carl comes from, like, his parents are still married. They've been married for like 47 years. I come from, my mom had me at 16, my dad was 17. And so, and having a child, our upbringing is just very, very different. So we have to talk about, what that looks like. Are we gonna, what type of schools? I know we have like plenty of time for that, but those are
conversations you need to have before you have the baby. Because Carl could be like, I strictly believe in a Christian private school that is all boys, and you're like, I want him to go to public school and. Now what?
Yeah.
So I do think that those conversations are important to have before.
Yeah. So we did talking about schools, talking about like, how we wanted to discipline, what we didn't want our child to see, because like I said, growing up was very, very different for us. So I saw things different than Carl. So and making sure that the environment is healthy for our son. Like, are we gonna like argue in front of him? Are we gonna if we do argue, is he gonna see us making up so he knows that this is healthy? Like, so all those things. I mean, we try to talk about a range of things just to make sure that we were as prepared as possible. And that was with like leading from like, you know, talking to other parents, talking to our pastor. So that was a lot of the advice that we got, just to make sure that when Carter came, that we're just making sure that we're on the same page.
I love it.
So.
I love the community that you guys are
created.
And utilizing to your benefit. Like, I don't know, is Carl's family in California? Are they out of state?
They're in Detroit.
Oh, they're in Detroit.
Yeah.
So both of your families are out of this immediate city. So it's, y'all are really, you're creating your village. You're creating the environment that you are seeking for your family. So I think that's beautiful, and I commend you guys on that. That's
Thanks
great.
so much. It's
it's
hard.
difficult to do that
that
and
is.
to nurture it and to like maintain it. So to hear what you guys are doing and how you're doing it, we just need to hear more of that. We really do, because it is possible. Like,
it is.
I see a lot of couples who maybe are in different states, are like, they relocate and they're like, what do we do?
It's that community.
You go to a church.
Yeah.
You like, there's so many things that you can do to.
And your friends
your
also
community.
become your community.
Yeah.
That's true, and that's what's been really nice too. I didn't mention that earlier, but there's been a wave of women at church that have all been that were pregnant, and we're all like maybe few weeks apart to a month, and there's like 5 of us, and so like I was the second to last one to give birth to my son, and there was one more girl who just gave birth to her son, and we're like texting each other, checking on each other.
Yes.
One of the girls dropped me and Carl off food, so that support there is nice. Like, having that community is everything, because you don't realize how much support you need.
Yeah.
That's true.
As a new mom, do you think about the advice, and a newlywed? So I guess my question is, for the advice that you guys have been getting and been receiving, is there one piece of advice that stands out for either topic, but something that someone told you that you like really, really hit home for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is when it comes to like learning that my husband like is first. Like, obviously, like, you know, I don't come from a family full of marriage, you know, so I mean, I learn a lot of things, you know, I'm learning a lot of things being married, but that was one of the advice I gave, like, that I received. Like, obviously it's God, it's your husband, it's your kids, and it's everybody else. And for someone like myself who is
Where's yourself? You gotta put yourself in there.
well, I feel like that, you know, God and myself, I feel like that's kind of, you know, of course myself
because
too.
I hear it sometimes.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
like,
that's real. That's
where
real.
do we put ourselves?
Yeah,
'Cause
no,
we,
it's
like,
real.
We'll put God, man, children. I'm like, no, y'all, we're missing ourselves. We got to put ourselves in there.
It's interesting. My doula said the same thing, but then she also was like, you know, God and you like, you know, you're kind of
it's supposed to go like hand in hand.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm definitely up there too. Because if I can't show it for me, I can't show it for anyone else. But,
when you say the advice that you got was putting your husband first, is that what you were saying?
yeah, just like the importance of knowing that, like, you know, that there is an order, like making sure that we keep God at the center, but that also, like, I do, like, I show up as, like, I show up for myself, obviously, but I show up for, like, my husband as well. And that is something that I didn't realize, like, I needed to do. Because, again, I'm the oldest of 6, so sometimes I feel like I operate in this, like, I'm gonna be honest, like a self-centered, selfish mentality at times, because I'm just so used to kind of taking care of things, but it's like, no, like, I could take care of myself, and it's okay to be taken care of as well. So, like, when it comes to, like, being married, it's kind of releasing that and, like, knowing that there is, like God will provide, and then also, like, just knowing that in marriage, like, my husband is, like, right there. My husband's my support. My husband's, like, my provider. And I'm still, like, learning that to this day. Like, I'm still, that's something I'm still trying to practice.
Is it tough for you to be almost submissive?
Absolutely.
Oh, wait.
Absolutely.
Because you're used to being a lead.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like there is a balance. Like, my husband's very, like, calm and very, like, supportive, very helpful, and he does kind of just he does a lot of things for me, in a sense of, like, just kind of as a team, like if the house is like dirty, like Carl gonna clean. I don't have to tell Carl to clean. I don't have to say clean the house, take out the trash.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have.
He handles his own.
He can do that. He can do laundry. He makes the bed. He can do all that on his own. But
Carl is a full functioning adult. Y'all.
He is a full functioning adult. But
Like-
somebody like myself, who is the oldest, who is kind of used to just doing my own thing and being like my own, you know, being like the oldest, it is hard sometimes. But I've had to learn to like it's okay to like be led.
Yeah, I think I asked that because I struggle with that in my marriage.
It's hard.
Me feeling like I'm independent and I want to hold on to my independence, but at the same time, like I have this whole other person who is supposed to be my co-captain and my, you know, my team leader. I'm on the team with this person and I'm so used to just doing or just going or just making this decision or buying this thing. And then I'll do these things and then Zach is looking at me like, hi, hello. Like,
here.
where was the conversation or where was like the team? You just... You act on I or you act on yourself alone and I'm like, oh, like we're married. Like dang, I should have came to you and brought this to your attention, or I should have just sat back and let you like lead.
Yeah.
Where I don't know, I'm really struggling with sitting back and letting someone lead. And I think the biggest thing that you said is making sure you're on the same page.
Yeah.
Because if you're on the same page, then it's easier to sit back to allow the person to lead. But when you're not, then you always want to be in control.
There's a back and forth, that power
Yeah.
battle, that dynamic. That's something like as I pray for my husband now, like it's not just, oh, I hope you're kind and all these things, I hope you treat me well, but it's like, I want you to be such a strong leader that I'm like, where are we going, babe?
Yeah.
Like
I just think it's a lot easier said than when you're actually in it to do.
It is easier said than done because we've been raised in the same household and we are very much like,
get it done.
Yeah, we're like, get it done.
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
and it's also been like very female focused, get it done.
That's
so
it.
it's as I'm getting older and learning, okay, what do I actually want in my marriage or what do I actually seek in a man? I'm like, I'm having to learn how to relinquish certain power or responsibilities or thought processes where it's like, nah, girl, you gotta let that man be that man.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be this domineering, well, this is what I want, so I'm gonna go get it. Like, let your man lead, because guess what? You're still gonna get what you deserve and what you need. Like, it just may not be on your timing. It's gonna be on God's timing. And it's like, if you're in this partnership, do it together. Like, so this is, I'm happy to hear you guys saying these things or having these conversations because I think about this.
You were saying you were exhausted of what?
I'm exhausted if I'm trying to do everything because as you guys are both talking, I realized, like, no lie, yesterday, I'm literally pumping. I got my son, like, on the changing table right next to me, and I'm singing to him. I'm also washing out bottles, and I am boiling ramen. And Carl's like in the other room, and I'm just like, why am I not asking
Why
for
am I doing all
like,
this?
why am I doing this? Because, I mean, he's more than willing to help, or if he sees, like, he'll help. But I'm like, I need to stop. Like, I always say I'm in my soft girl era. Like, I do not. Like, I want to be able to just be able to receive like the help. You know.
Do you know how to ask for help?
I have a hard time doing that.
Okay.
And even being married, like it's a struggle. Like once you get married, things don't just switch. You know, it's a habit. Like I'm just used to doing things on my own. Like sometimes Carl's like, why don't you just say you needed me to do this?
Bro,
that's
our biggest argument in our house. You just want to do it all and be Superwoman, but you could have easily just said, help me.
Right. And then then I feel like I'll complain and be like, no one ever helps. I gotta do everything.
Yes. And then they're like, you didn't ask. I'm like, why should I have to ask?
Read my mind.
Yes, read my mind.
Take some initiative.
Oh my God, no, literally, I swear this has been a topic in our house, and I was venting to my dad the other day, and he said, there's two sides to every story, so I'm going to take Zach out to lunch and get his side. So they did go, this is a real topic. They went to lunch yesterday, right? My dad texted me back, and he said, yeah, you need to learn how to get into your soft girl era. And I said, who the fuck told you about soft girl era? Okay? Right. You don't know shit.
First of all,
I was like,
Dad.
What? I said, Dad, you made me this way. You made me feel like I don't need anyone but myself and that I can do it all. And he's like, yeah, I'm really sorry, kid.
Like I'm struggling
He
with...
literally apologized. Like, I'm really sorry that I made you like this, but I need you to break all that.
It's
like,
hard, though.
it's
When you've been this way for
hard.
so long, it's hard. Like, you know, and you have moments and pockets of where you can be soft,
Yeah.
but overall, like, just getting it done. And I'm like,
It's hard.
you're a go-getter. Like, you get it done.
I don't know how to sit and...
Oh,
like, I don't know
at
how
this
to
point,
do that.
I can sit back.
I don't know how to do that.
I'm
I start
exhausted.
itching. I start sweating. I'm like, is he doing it? Is he not doing it? Is he doing it
And then
now?
that's
Like,
the other problem. It's like we're so used to this, like, having to do it or be in control. And I don't know if it's like the entrepreneurial side that's coming through, but it's like,
it's tough.
it's even when you do sit back, your mind is overthinking.
Yeah.
Your anxiety is high
Yeah.
because you're like, are they going to get it done?
I'm
Are they
sure if
gonna-
you sat down and were just pumping, you're still thinking, okay, the bottles have to get washed.
Shy.
I still want to
Did he
eat my
use-
ramen.
Wait,
like,
did he use the
like
right
you're
tool
still
on
going.
cleaning the nipple?
That's why I
Like,
have a hands-free pump, because I cannot. That thing is hands. I can move around the house. I cannot be. I love the Spectrum, but Spectra, excuse me. I cannot sit there and just be like glued to that. Like, 'cause I
Yeah.
won't get anything
No,
done.
I couldn't do those either.
And I know it comes to like my family, because I use this example so much. Just my grandma, God rest her soul. But my grandma was like fighting cancer, and she had like one arm operating. She would pull up a chair in the kitchen and be like cooking.
Yeah.
And like, so she was just pushing through. So I mean, I feel like that's something I do. Like, if I'm tired, if I'm sick, I'm gonna get it done. I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'll complain about it, but I'm still gonna do it.
Right. I just say, as your friend, and you being a new mom, you still being in this newlywed phase, it's all a lot of news, right? All your titles have officially changed. Like, you just added on all these new titles. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace.
Show yourself
Give
compassion.
Carl grace. Give Carter grace. Like, just I constantly have to give myself grace throughout the day, and then tell myself, like, okay, we're doing it. Like, you're good. You're okay. Your kids are healthy. Your husband is still fine. Like, you are okay. And I have to just constantly say, let me just breathe for a second and give myself some grace for it. I commend you for even coming on this podcast 6 weeks out of just giving birth. I would have told me, fuck off. Like, girl, no, my coochie still hurts. Like, no, like, it just wouldn't have happened. So I think already you are taking on this new, this new life, and you're killing it. You're doing great.
I
You're
appreciate
ready
that.
to
I really
face
do.
the day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You can see that you're in like a supported, loving relationship right now. Like it is.
I think it's amazing.
It's like spitting at me right
Yeah.
now. Like, and I mean that in like the best way. Like,
I want you to come back on in a couple weeks. I want to hear, like,
we need the eloping story.
Right, I wanna hear
we
the
need
eloping-
backstory.
T
Y'all.
was doing podcasting. Like, I want to hear, like, your podcast story. I want to hear about, like, your journey with faith. I feel like we were able to touch a little bit today just on, like, you talked about praying a lot and stuff, but we didn't really get to dive in. So I want you to come back in a couple weeks. We want to update on how baby boy is doing. And I want you to go and be a soft girl today. So come back
Carl.
on and tell us about how your
Carl.
soft girl era day went. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing your birth story with us.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
This is a
I
beautiful
miss y'all.
story.
I know, right? I haven't seen you in forever.
I know.
So the way we end our podcast is you can give advice, any advice you can ever think of, or you can share a WTF story of like your week or past week or whatever. Past 6 weeks. You've had a lot of changes in the past 6 weeks.
I've had a lot of changes. I think any advice, I'll go with the advice. I mean, based off me sharing my birth story, whether you give birth with a C-section or if you get an epidural or if you have an unmedicated birth, like, it is okay. It's okay to own like how you give birth. And sometimes we don't have the choice. Sometimes we may have to have a C-section, and that is okay. We just know and trust, have to know and trust the process, that everything happens for a reason and that God is good. And that as long as the baby's healthy, that's all that matters. Sometimes we just have to like release our plans just so things can just unfold the way that they should.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, T. I'm not going after you. Kyle, you go next. I have nothing good to say after that. I just got to think.
I'm just going to say a prayer for myself.
Oh my God.
Dear God, I am really, really, really seeking my self-care. I'm searching for you. No, seriously. But I love that this is coming up because I feel like I'm preparing for like my next relationship, and I'm having to learn how to, it's not fall back, but like fall back in certain areas. Yeah, and I just pray that God continues to give me the tools and the strength, or not the strength, to do such things, because I want God, man, children. Like, that's what I want in my life at this point. I can't even believe I'm saying this, because like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have been like, like, not me. But at this point, I feel like children have changed my life. Even desiring like a healthy relationship that is like with my best friend. Like I've changed a lot in this last year. It's been a difference. So just keep going. Let that man lead, y'all.
I love it. Speak into existence, girl.
Yeah.
Oh, he's leading. Come on, lead us, baby.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think my advice would be, it's not really advice, it's more of like a statement. I want us to start normalizing openly talking about like marriage or the struggles behind it, especially with our generation. I feel like there's not a lot of outlets that we're able to do it in a healthy and positive way, you know? So I want us to normalize like talking about like, dang, this is something I struggle with in my marriage. Like, do you struggle with this? Or maybe it's something that you don't, that you could give like advice on.
And like judgment free, not to take from your moment. But
yeah, I feel like that just even having this conversation alone has helped me realize like, okay, I'm not the only one. So I feel like I want to normalize that. I want that to become more of a conversation. And I do think it is tougher for me to have that conversation on here because Kyle's not married. Shannon's not married. So it's like I constantly don't want to push marriage, you know, or my marriage. I think sometimes having the balance of having someone else here that is married will allow that conversation to happen more.
And I feel that. I feel like sometimes you do maybe hold back because we aren't married. But I learned so much from my married friends right now. And it's like, I want those conversations too, because my ass wants to get married at this point. So it's like, I need to know these things too, because it's like, as I'm having conversations with like my future husband, it's like, hey, how are we going to navigate this? Or, hey, I heard this come up. Like, what is our plan? Like, what are we doing? So just hearing the conversations that are had before, you know, children and marriage, I need those things, because I either, one, haven't seen it, I haven't been in it, I've never been married. Like, my last relationship, y'all saw, was a shit show. So it's, include us single people sometimes in your married conversations, just because.
No, and of course, I just think it's easier to have those conversations
married people
with another married person.
You definitely need a married person, because I can't give you marriage advice.
Yeah. Exactly, that is perfect.
Because I've texted a few friends and said, like, this has been going on with the breastfeeding. I'm like, am I the only one? Like, are you having troubles too? Like, it makes you feel like you're not. It makes you like, it validates what you're going through.
Yeah,
yeah, and
it's almost
really
like a
helpful.
human.
Yeah, it really does.
And marriage is hard, and breastfeeding is hard. Like, all this shit is hard. Like,
and then you have kids, and it's harder.
Yes, all this stuff is hard.
It's beautiful. Marriage is beautiful.
It's great.
But
I love it.
Hard.
But it's hard as fuck. Like, I'm not complaining, but I'm complaining.
Right.
Like, that's
it's
how
hard.
I feel some days. But
you gotta die to yourself every day.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I get it. I swear I see you, and I'm happy that we had this conversation. T, where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Shawnteairra. And on my podcast at Let's Get Aligned.
Yes, thank you.
Let's Get Aligned?
Yes.
I love the name. How did I miss this whole
That's why we're going to talk about that on part 2. You guys can follow us on Think Loud Crew on Instagram and on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and help us to continue to grow our crew.
Yes.
If you guys have not signed up for the Mexico trip, you need to sign up for the Mexico trip. We're going in July. We are so excited about that. And you can follow me at Shy Not Shy.
And you can follow me at Kyle Lynn.
And don't forget to tell your crew about our crew.